Take 72.
Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here.
Barging in, it's Andy. Hello.
Oh my goodness, wow. We are delighted beyond words to have the amazing Mr. Andy Timmons joining us today. It's going to get emotional. 3 years ago, I think it was, we had organised a bunch of gigs up and down the British area.
The Good Nations.
The Good Nations. And obviously, you all know what happened.
Yeah.
And been looking for any opportunity to get Andy back. And Andy is going to a guitar camp next week in Italy.
In Verona,
Verona.
Yeah.
I thought, what's on the way to Italy, the UK?
Just come a little earlier.
Yeah.
Great.
And we just had the most amazing week. And a couple of things have happened. Recently, you have released the Halo.
Yes, at long last, collaboration with Robert Keeley and company.
So we want to get into that.
Great.
You've also, Electric Truth has been released.
Yeah. Finally a new record after a bit of a wait in between with the amazing Josh Smith at the helm producing and
Unreal.
co-writing some stuff with me. Yeah, so it was a fun project.
Yeah.
And we just want to get it's weird, right? Because we've been with Andy for almost a week now, so we've been having these conversations all week, and we're going to have them again, and hopefully remember all the really good stuff that came out, so that we can share it. But just get around a little bit about your headspace, Andy, with tone. We have been, and also a small group of people have been lucky enough to do a bit of a hang with Andy while we were here. We had an experience day, and Andy was around, and then we did a hang before our gig at Fat Lil's in Whitney. And some of the questions that came out there I thought were super interesting. So we'll maybe relook at some of those.
Yeah, great.
Sounds great. I'm going to use my most important pedal, the tuner. We had the AC on, so there's been a bit of shifting.
Oh, okay.
Want to just get close while we're doing the playing.
12 string?
Yeah, exactly. I will gladly that's a really nice sounding Ivan S12 string. I didn't even know they made it.
Well, this
Pretty
is
cool.
My favorite string pairing on the 12 string.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good.
That's the one that always really sounds out of tune.
And we were commiserating because, if you're on your normal guitar, Strat, Les Paul, whatever it is, something's out of tune. You pretty well know which one it is and how to get there. When you're on the 12 string, it's like, which one is it? Too many choices.
You did very well, actually.
That was the whole stop the song and tune the guitar and start again. There's no alternative.
There's no way out. This can't be done.
So if you're confused by the rig at all, Andy's regular rig is two Lone Stars with closed back.
Yeah, usually I'll use, and sometimes I'll use the open back combo on top of a 212 rectifier cabinet with Celestians vintage 30s. But I didn't have that over here. Luckily, Mick handily had two Lone Star combos sticking out of his back pocket.
Yeah, so we had that. And then we were just messing around earlier on with some stuff, which is why you have the arrangement you see there.
Yeah. Little close back.
Little fun thing.
Yeah, happy days. Okay, I'll tell you where I'd like to kick off.
Yes, you go.
One thing I found super surprising all week, Andy, is your approach to the space between what you might call a clean sound and all the way up to your most overdriven sound.
Right.
And how that may change depending on kind of how you're feeling it or the room you're in.
Yeah.
So we're talking about shades of gain, I guess.
It's all about that. It's all the control of the amount of gain, and then, and I live a lot on the volume knob. And so with each one of those, I'm going to have all these varying degrees of gain. So there's several pedals on the board where I'm kind of achieving a similar thing. You know what I mean? With how I use the RC and the BB together, or the Keeley modded blues driver on its own, or the BB and the Carl Martin together. So it's all kind of doing similar things, but yeah, it could be depending on the stage and how the rig is sounding, or just in the emotion of the moment, what you're really going for, you know. But it really is starting from the mildest sort of push to quite a bit more extreme with a bit of compression and chew. A little chew in there with it, you know, a little spongier thing.
We get a little listen to some of that, perhaps?
Yeah. So we should just hear what the amp is actually doing on its own. With every one of my tones, you're gonna hear the halo in there because it's pretty much an effect that's not off. You know, there's some people like a nice dry tone, and I do too, but usually most tones I'm going for, that's a component. So I'm just gonna kind of leave that on because it's really how I hear the tone. So we're just gonna hear varying degrees, but okay, let's dry it up. I guess to be fair, here I am without my whoopee. That's just straight into the Lone Star, and it's mainly run fairly flat all the way across the board, except for the low end's really tapered because there's a pretty fat sounding circuit. So the bottom amp is the main, the main head, and then I'll send the send out to the Halo, and then the stereo return will go one back into the effects return of the first Lone Star, and then into the effects return of the slave, as it would be called, Lone Star. So it's just replicating that one preamp of the main Lone Star into two different power sections.
We'll do a diagram so you can see.
Yeah, but pretty nifty. Obviously quite common way of doing things. Yeah. So this becomes, and a majority of my tones are clean platform. That Lone Star is just going to be that sound. I'm going to build everything on top of that. Though I do use the lead channel on the Lone Star on a couple of sounds, and I'll explain that as we get there. So this is just, that's the straight amp. I normally hit the front end pretty hard with a Carl Martin compressor. Drummer Mick, yeah. So that's
EWF.
That's EWF. So again, here's the straight. And as you can see, it's a dual compressor. So the main channel that I'm using on it is really not a whole lot of compression dialed in, but it's a significant boost, as you can hear. And the other side, I'll get chewier with it, more like the traditional old school Dynacomp type thing. But then you can compensate with a bit more gain, as that's kind of getting in the way. But I'm not going to do that for right now. Yeah, so for the next type of, so now, as you would have heard when I just was straight into the amp, it's not overly bright, right? And so for cleaner tones, you kind of want that bit of sparkle on top to get the articulation in some of the harmonic content that you can get with some of the picks. So I'm gonna now put the RC in front of the Carl Martin, which may be kind of backwards for some people, but I'm getting the top end first and then boosting that into the front of the amp. So this is where, so you get, obviously it's this, that harmonic that I can now get out of there in the way, and I'm sorry. We got it pretty loud in here, but it feels good.
So good.
We're not on drugs. We are at the end of a week of being in a van and
down by the river.
Around, and we're a little bit D-mob happy, I would say.
Yeah. It's been a good week. Well, that's the thing. We've known each other now for these many years. What that first show was 2015, 2016. But we've always, man, I can't wait to just actually spend time with the gear, because it's usually it kind of a quick hang at NAMM, or not so quick as the evening may have been. But you know what I'm saying? It's been really, really fun. And to hear these guys, okay, sometimes I think my tone is okay, but I get in a room with these two guys, I'm like, I got a lot of work to do. It's insane. But also to see these guys on stage doing their thing. I think that was the beauty of your fan base, which, they know you as good players, and you're hanging out and you're obviously very knowledgeable. But the material you guys did, I mean, they're doing, Toto, and they're doing, Tears for Fears and Yes. Not only all the guitar stuff, but they're singing. Both these guys can sing their butts off. So anyway, kudos to you guys.
Thank you.
Really, really fantastic for all of us, I think.
It's been a magic week.
So anyway, so now we're back to this. So RC, So there's that, you know, if I were to dig in and play the pedal as it, there's a bit of gain there, right? But I'm usually kind of using this on the neck pickup with the volume rolled down. Like you're into like a brighter old Marshall and you're back and your volume down. And as always, I would point out that I've got the treble bleed mod in the master of my guitar. So you're gonna retain. Even way down on the volume, I'm still getting that top end articulation. That's level 1. So level 2 would be going over to, now this is Dan's actually. I've got a Keeley modded blues driver on my board that I borrowed from my good friend Nick Knurk, who's my jazz guitar buddy, but he helps me edit my videos for the guitar experience side, my lesson side. Mm-hmm. So he lent me his Keeley blues driver, and I haven't given it back. That was about 7 years ago.
Okay.
What are the statute of limitations on pedal borrowing?
I think legally you own it now.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Well, then I'm taking this to Italy with me, so we'll see how.
See if I get this one
back. It's so now with the blues driver itself, it doesn't need the push that I would get from the Carl Martin. So now this is the blues driver just straight in to the Lone Star, and again, it's kind of gained up. I never use it like that. It's mainly for the. What it gives me is that really glassy. I heard one of the comments saying, "We should turn the delay down a little bit." Did you hear that? Preemptive comment. Yeah. It's still really dynamic. Well, so, dude, oh man, we lost one. We lost one. Hey, buddy. So it's the tuning. Every time he's like, I wish he would have tuned that B string. It's just a little.
That is extraordinary. Hey, we might have to have a pause.
Okay.
And we're back in the room. Sort
Yeah,
of.
exactly.
Yeah, it's probably worth saying at this point, we did a gig together last Thursday night in Froome. And big shout out to Andy, the sound guy, actually.
Oh my God.
Who was just
It's amazing.
such
amazing.
an
Yeah.
amazing human.
And Andy, the owner.
Yeah, and all the Andys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Andy,
yeah.
the guitar player. We have a new group called Trace Andres. Not many people.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very
It's been
good.
done before.
Very good.
All shout outs to Andy Wood, Andy James, Andy Summers, and all my Andy friends. Andy Elladort. Man, there's a bunch of them. Andy McKee. Man, it's going to be.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah.
He said, you know, I was expecting guitar pyrotechnics tonight, and what I got was guitar emotion.
Oh,
And I
that's
think
sweet.
that was a lovely way to sum up what we just experienced there. Okay, tell me about your next pedal.
Very sweet. Nothing else matters. It's all downhill from here.
What button can I press to make me do that?
Yeah. Okay. So right. Yeah. So now if I need quite a bit more gain, because this one thing that ends up happening is as I start gaining up through all the different levels of gain, once I get to my bridge pickup lead tone, right, and that's my JHS pedal. I'm not really going to be getting what I need on the neck pickup if I want a neck pickup lead thing.
Okay.
Because once I get a bridge tone dialed in, you know, with the humbucker, it's going to be a bit muddy.
Right.
When that's the way I like it. So this is the old BB Xotic pedal. Also, you know, hitting the front of the Carl Martin that's boosting the front end of the Lone Star. So it's going to be a bit more aggressive, a lot more aggressive. The original version of Electric Gypsy, we were talking last night. It was actually a very clean VHC pit bowl, but over the years, I like it a little gainier, just, you know. But I can still lighten up and still get a bit of that detail. More sustained now. So that's the next stage. So then let's go from that to the JHS. I call it the AT pedal, but some people do call it the AT because Josh was like, we need a little clever icon to put on the pedal. So
Right.
the AT made sense.
Just to reiterate, so the BB is predominantly just for the neck pickup.
Exclusively.
Exclusively.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not
I've never
just
used it for.
predominantly,
I just never. Oh, I should. Well, when I started using the BB, it would behave well like that as I'm using it there.
Yeah.
But I would also. But back when I first started using that Xotic pedal, I was using predominantly the lead channel on the Lone Star.
Yeah.
So it would be a nice, and I'll use it in that context in a second when we go to the lead channel. It would be a nice way of boost because the Lone Star really doesn't have a saturated gain. It's a fatter, warmer tone, but it needs a bit of the tube screamer type thing or the BB to give it that.
Right.
And that might sound okay on the bridge pickup on that thicker tone. But as I'm using it on the front end, no, it's going to be all neck pickup.
Wow.
Yeah. So then let's go over to the JHS. This is my main lead tone. Got a little noise on the pickup today. Here's the amp. so that's I'm getting a lot out of that pedal.
Was that
Yeah, thank you.
that straight harmonic feedback that was coming in there? Is that always the case?
I think it's proximity, volume, and yeah, what we got going on speaker wise.
Yeah, that's
that was pretty good.
that's yeah.
No, that doesn't always happen.
So I tell you what I find interesting about those two sounds we've just heard.
Okay.
So much of your playing is about articulation, and I think that's where a lot of the emotion comes for me anyway, and for Dan.
Well, yeah, that's.
You can always hear the edge of the pick. You can always hear.
You hear the intent. It's like if you're leaning into it or not, if you're laying back,
And then, you flick back to that bridge humbucker with the AT, and then it's thick, just huge amounts of thickness. A lot of people might see that the other way around sometimes, where they would consider the bridge the kind of thinner, spikier thing, and then you go to the neck for the big, thick thing. But it's
well, that's where I mean, for so many of us, Eric Johnson is such a benchmark of. How the hell does he do that with that Strat pickup?
Right.
Think of the first note of Avia Music on that intro. It's like, I mean, that's where I am in my head. I'm trying to achieve that, even though I'm cheating and I have the thicker humbucker. That he's certainly shaped my idea of of great tone in so many ways. I mean, combined with all the other people that we have absorbed their amazing sounds over the years. So, but yeah, it's undeniable that he is so influential for all of us. Seemingly.
So, other than the compressor, there's no other pedal stacking going on game wise.
No, as I just did. I just here's just the amp. And that's why I mean, I clearly working with Josh at JHS on it was a treat, and that was the idea where I could confidently get on just about any amp and dial in a reasonable lead tone.
Well, I remember you came over to
yes.
You were doing something for Anderson's, and from memory, the lead channel in the amp that you were using that night was busted or wasn't working. You had to get a pedal.
Here's what happened. Because it was something that would regularly happen on my Lone Stars, where the first tube to go will be the driver of the effects loop. So basically, if my effects loop's not working,
you gotta go.
I'm gonna be dead in the water because I'm not gonna play without my delay, right?
Yeah.
So what we had to do, we had to run everything into the front of the amp. So therefore, I couldn't use the lead channel as I was normally using it with the BB. I had to figure out what can I use for my lead tone. And thanks to Brian Meter, my go-to guy at the Guitar Sanctuary back home, he's like, "Oh, Andy, you should try this Angry Charlie pedal." He's like, "Oh, we've got the new Pee-wee, we've got the new Magic." So he really is. He's like the magician. He's like the guy that runs the magic shop in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Pee-wee, we got the new onion gum. Ooh. So that's Brian for me, right? So he knows the tones they like. He said, "You need to try this pedal." And I'll never forget it because I was stressed out. Dan was there, and he had Dave Gregory there. Where's the horn? He had Dave Gregory from XTC in tow. And I'm like, man, I better. I mean, every gig I want to play well, of course, but when your buddies are there and they've got the ears of some of the best ears ever. Anyway, but after the gig, I recognized that it had been a pretty good gig, and Dan was like, "Yeah,
amazing."
And that's all it takes for me is any nugget of encouragement from a dear buddy. So I started from then I started kind of rethinking some things, and that pedal stayed on my board, and I was kind of going back and forth between those two ways of doing it. I started feeling like I was getting more of an immediacy with my playing, like. Because it's such a thick channel, that lead channel, I'm kind of pulling it with me,
Right.
Where I was getting on a more immediate articulation with this pedal through the clean channel. So it became, more and more my lead tone. So, fast forward to a few years later at a NAMM show, I thought I really should go by and meet Josh. I hadn't met Josh at JHS. So I just went by and introduced myself. Yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you. We've had this pedal out for a while. And then all of a sudden we start seeing some sales, he said, maybe we should do a signature version of it. So that's what we did. There's things that I wanted to tweak on it, and we modified it a bit, and that's what became, the AT pedal. But it really did start off as the Angry Charlie, and it was born of that night of something screwing up.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's partially Dan's fault.
It was
and Brian Beater. Yeah,
and the curry we had afterwards.
Okay.
It was a good curry.
It was a great curry.
It was a tasty. We had a great hang that night.
Great.
What mode do you use it in, Andy?
It's like this was a thing that Josh wanted to do. So it's like I want to say
It's like a headroom thing.
25, 50. So of course 25, 50, and 100 watt. I keep it in the middle, which is the 100 watt.
Yeah.
And with all my amps too, if it's got variable watt, it's just gonna be in 100 watt mode.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too. I just don't want to harp on Eric any more than I should, but I'm gonna. I've gotten to be friends with him over the years, or at least have bugged him enough to backstage at gigs or whatever.
Works for me.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. So, during the course of the Resolution record, Mike Dane, who's the bassist in my group since 1988, was co-producing the record with me, and we really spent a lot of time on the guitar tones. And one tune, we decided to take the outside tubes of a JCM 800 out to make it a 50 watt.
Yep.
But it just seemed like it took us a lot longer. We weren't employing any EQ on that record recording. We did everything with, just getting the tone and mic placement right, trying to really get as organic as possible. No plugins, none of that crap. Just get as rich and natural of a tone as we could. But we noticed that, wow, this is we were struggling with it. Not long after that, Eric had come through and played at a place called the Granada Theater, which is a great old theater in Dallas, and talking after the show. And I think I was telling him about some of the things I was discovering. And he goes, oh, yeah, I went to 50 watt amps for a while. Yeah, I just couldn't find the spot on the speaker. It's like,
wow.
So we would joke with Eric over the years, like, come on, man, you got to write the book. You got to write the book about this stuff. And but it's like everything else. You kind of need to figure it out for yourself. Because, but anyway, little things along the way. It was just nice to know.
But no, that's such a massive point, because what will work for one player and the way they play dynamically won't necessarily work for someone else, and it's which is why we're all about getting it. You got to get your hands dirty. There's no substitute.
That's
for
right.
it.
That's right.
Yeah, and something that you have done to wonderful effect when we're doing rehearsal with Andy, and we say shout out to Doug and Paddy.
Oh,
the rhythm section for
Jack.
And Jack.
So
So the guys had one rehearsal with Andy before we went and did the gigs, and they'd done their homework. What was apparent to everyone in the room was what you could pick out of the densest mix. It was eerie. It was
sorry.
Yeah, no, it was no, but it was
and
amazing.
especially when you're short on time, you kind of got to cut to the chase and hopefully not be.
But that's something else I've talked to Robert about. It's like when you started working on the Halo with Robert, and we'll get back to this in a second. What?
I think now would be a good time.
Well, okay, now's a good time.
Wouldn't now be a good time?
Right. So one thing that Robert, because we're good friends with Robert, we talked to him, quite
It's
often.
all your fault.
We also have a signature pedal with Robert.
Where's the damn horn when we need?
But what he said was he was astonished at the stuff you could hear.
Wow.
And what's brilliant, and we've had discussions, over the years with stuff, and it's when you have ears like yours and the touch that you've got on your instrument, it can't help but make, if you're in a collaboration with someone,
Right.
it can't help but make that so much better, And I remember saying Robert was blown away.
Wow.
He was like, because we thought when we first started out, we thought we were in the game. It's like, no, it's like it was amazing.
So to set it up though, I'd come to you because I was in a spot where I was like, I'd used all these different things trying to achieve the overall tone that I had in my head,
Sure.
and again influenced by everybody as far back as Hendrix to Luke to EJ to Joe Wall, some of my favorite guys that have used Echo a certain way. EP3s, Memory Men, and eventually Timeline, kind of replicating all this. But I knew there was something better to be had, so to speak.
Right.
And I went to you and said, who would be the guy that could best facilitate this? And without a flinch, you said Robert Keeley. Yeah. And so...
Well, he's got... The thing is, Rob, and you will know this from hanging with him, we're all passionate about the same stuff.
Unbelievable.
You know what I mean? And that's... when you find that, it's a lot to have in common with someone, you know, and he'll do what he has to do to, you know, and working with him with that stuff is just so much fun because he's so into it. You know?
That's the thing. And so the other beauty is that what, you know, so you walked me right over to the Keeley stand, introduced us, got on great. And then, you know, there's all kinds of life stuff that happened, you know, including COVID.
Of course.
So from that till now was it, you know, about 3 years or so, but about a year and a half ago, we really got on the same page as that, let's do this. And so they're, you know, Keeley's based in Oklahoma City and I'm in McKinney, Texas, which is North Texas. So it's only a few hours away.
Okay.
So that was the key to this thing happening, because had we had to do it like, oh, we'll tweak it, we'll send it to you, tell us what you hear.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Try verbalizing these things, you know. But to be in, so I went up there, I would guess about 5 or 6 times. They came to my studio 5 or 6 times. So it was largely, you know, Robert, and then one of his assistants at the company is Aaron Pierce.
Yeah.
Okay. Who again, just the 3 of us in a room together. I mean, had so much in common, so much mutual passion and love for all these things, from Barney Kessel to whatever it might be. We just caught fire immediately. And then the first time I did go up to their place, I took all the different delay units, the memory men, if that's our plural.
Memory my, I think.
Memory my, it's the Latin we use, please.
and you know, and all the things I'd been using or had used, and he had the echoes, and we were like, okay, let's see how close we are. It was, so we had a ways to go, but you know, it was really revelatory for them, even in that first session, things that they could already approve upon that they had been doing, maybe they didn't even need to do. And so, but to really be in the room and to hear the things, and Aaron really was you know, zoomed into where I was, and of course Robert's genius, and then Aaron Tackett, who was our kind of their programming guy back in the shop, another genius on board. So between the 4 of us, but really not wanting to settle for anything less than, okay, this has to really be better than everything I'd been using, and trying to get to that place in my head with what I was hearing. So it's a very selfish pedal in that I wanted this one pedal to get that, because I would use, you know, units that were capable of thousands of things, and I'm on one sound most of the night. It's just kind of my specific tone. But that being said, it's very versatile, does a lot of other stuff. But now that it's been out, and seeing people with all the different, you know, gear reviews and such, and seeing how people are really being creative with it, but it's the sonic integrity and just how nice it sounds. I mean, it's just I'm pretty blown away. So kudos to Robert and Aaron for wanting to go the distance and making it a complete joyful journey the entire way. It was just incredible.
Yeah. Well,
it's 2 delays, right?
So that's the basic
delay.
It has different modes, but my thing is, you know, and I got this from Simon Phillips, who'd gotten it from Dave Gilmore. I guess they worked on a record called White City. You know, these guys. You've heard of these guys? Heard of these guys? That
was a vertical curve. Of
well, you know, so we just should be an automatic. I need an app. There should be an app. There should be, right? Or something on your watch you could hit. But no, I'd done a lot of work with Simon over the years, and it was one of the early records I was doing with him. He had this. It was like a half rack Boss. I feel much better now.
Let's give it. That's an honorary honk.
Let's just preemptive from whatever name any of us may or may not drop in the future in perpetuity. Yeah. So he had this. It was you guys might know, maybe an SE70. Is that a Boss like rack or Roland half rack unit? Multi effects. Yeah. But he had a setting in there. So Simon was so brilliant. He wrote all this really complex material on it, like MIDI keyboard, and he'd have this guitar pack, but he'd put this echo on it. Well, that really sounds great. Oh yeah, I call that David Gilmour's dotted eighth quarter note. You know, so it's the classic dotted eighth quarter essentially. Sounds great, doesn't it? Where the beauty really comes in, and what we spent the most time on, was really trying to get the way the echoes kind of stay out of the way, where the first echo hits and then how it dissipates. And when you've got the 2 echoes kind of feeding each other, I would used to.
Because they're in series, right? You would have one echo going into the other one, and then they start folding.
They start folding, and it's great. I call it feathering, folding in.
Lovely.
It starts. You're gonna swear. You start hearing what I'm doing, you're gonna swear there's reverb. It's not verb. That's, you know. That's just the delays. So it's the magic of what's happening there. But it's also the modulation that they came up with, and we spent a huge time on that too, trying to find the right spread of it. But so it's really going back to the tape, where when you've got that imperfect tape and it's just coming back, you know, and that's what the tape does so well. Those echoes really degrade in a beautiful way, but it's getting just out of tune. So the note will stay pure. Then everything else around it gradually, you know, fades out into this detuned. So the beauty is, now we spent a lot of time programming this particular patch. It comes with the pedal. There's no searching on the internet. What are the settings for the? No.
Honestly, after that first show we did with you, every second comment was, "Can you tell us what settings Andy is using to get that sound?" It's like at Halo, you open up the box, you turn it on, it's there.
1A. But then, okay, so that's the we call it the Halo again, because that's what it sounds like to me. Like the notes got this, you know, aura around it, right? But it also will do just like, you know, some you know, like it's just I think a dot. You know, we'll do a pedal demo here, but I might have this is a slap maybe. And a couple other multi-taps. One kind of emulates the Tom Scholz ratio, which is interesting. I've got one of the old Rockman Echo units, right? The rack thing, and his ratio is 300 and 500.
Okay.
Which I thought, that's interesting. So I thought, well, it's good enough for Tom, because once we got the Halo, you know, Robert's like, well, you know, we could have a variety of other things too. So they kind of like, what would your ultimate echoes be? So we did a Tom Scholz thing, which they're calling the Bucket Brigade. And the other one is I wanted to get the Hank Marvin Apache echo. Which
is that in there?
It's in there somewhere. Let me see if I can get to it. That's obviously a single quarter. That's the old. You need some more feedback on that. Yeah. It's kind of galloping down the road there.
Oh, it's a gallop. It's almost like a Steve Harris gallop.
And they set up a couple of quirky, like verby things. And... Oh, then that's the Tom Scholz. This is his. Anyway, lots of fun stuff you can do. Yeah.
But your use of it primarily is in that essentially.
I'm here all night. Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
During the gigs, must have had at least 20 people come up to me and say, "What reverbs are you using?"
It is pretty amazing, because it really does sound like that. But now it's really that. However, they got it to the point where we were all we knew what we wanted, and boy, they certainly got it there.
The amazing thing to me is that to get a delay that sounds that thick and dense, and yet to have the original note so pure on top, it doesn't get in the way.
Yeah,
and it's done just beautifully.
There's some wonderful deep editing features. So there's the 4 control knobs on top. If you hold the middle feedback button, and each knob has a secondary feature.
Right.
But 2 of the main things, there's a tone, so you can do that shaping, but there's also a high pass filter.
Right.
Jay Leonard J has done an amazing demo of it.
Oh, okay.
And he goes through all that stuff, and it's like, it's really cool.
And then the saturate's a huge thing too, and that's part of how those echoes are kind of getting out of the way. So you gotta really, you can spend some time with that. Again, the first several, presets are what I've come up with, but man, it's really flexible. And so the beauty of that is then you can then tune it to the room too. You can. Sometimes those frequencies might be taking over a certain way, and then you can really fine tune that if you're so inclined. But if you're not inclined, some of that work's been done for you.
On the hanky setting there, it was quite it was breaking up quite a bit.
Yeah, that's the saturate. That's the saturate thing there for sure, to get that kind of old taping.
We talk about this. If you've ever watched any of our videos on character delays, we'll talk about stuff like changing the EQ of the repeat.
Yeah.
Making it a little bit gritty to go off so that it does exactly what Dan was just talking about, and what Andy's been demonstrating so ably all video is everything else stays clean and clear, but the delay just sits behind. So you can actually have it really wet.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I like it wet.
And when you're playing in a 3-piece, the way that you do, and one thing I want to get into a bit is your basically chord solos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But with your Halo sound, it's almost like there's keys, there's a whole ambient thing happening behind you, and it's that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's again, I because I primarily play trio, I don't have the additional help of another guitarist or the keyboards filling it out. But it's almost like a sustain pedal of a piano. So if you turn that all the way down, if I play, whatever you want to hear. So without it, I'm nothing. Because as the guitar acoustically, and through an amp with some gain, you might sustain a little.
Hayden sat behind the camera just shaking his head along with the rest of us. Oh man.
Well, but that's and so again, if you're playing melody, it's a handy thing to, if you want that to just if you want to sing it, try to sing a bit. So so much of the stuff I've done over the last 20 years is really, that's part of it. It's not just the preamp. It's just not the gain stages. I really rely on that because it's how I hear, my sound at this point.
Sure.
You might be tempted to say, wow, that's super wet and you'd never hear it in a band. Having just done the run of gigs that we've done, I find it utterly astonishing that every single note you play is clean and clear and absolutely present. And yet, well, it's aptly named, isn't it? The halo around it all is just there.
Man.
It's something's just dawned on me actually. Dan has often been quoted as saying that the compressor is the overdrive for your clean sound, right? I actually think that because of the sustain thing you were just saying.
Yeah, interesting.
For those of you who love clean sounds and it can be hard work, right? Because you just get that transient on the front of the note and then no sustain, it dies away. Oh man, that's just. And then you don't have to play so many notes. You can just fall back into it. It's a really incredibly beautiful thing. And we are hearing it in stereo, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it does sound quite nice in mono, I will will say, but if you have the ability to do the way I'm doing it, it's in doubly, isn't it? It's doubly. When are you going to come down? Yeah, okay. Anyway,
not for a while. Not for a while. Okay. I have a couple of quick questions, just the things I want to go through.
Sure.
Mick and I have shared custody of Andy over the week.
This is true.
And, we're still going through the courts to work out who's going to end up with him. But
They just want me to be happy.
we love you and we want you to be happy.
It's me he calls dad.
It's not you.
Well, so mummy.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I something clicked for me. I think it was yesterday morning. We're having a little play in the kitchen, and get up in the mornings, hand Andy a coffee and a guitar.
As
I'm
you
like,
do, yeah.
show me. And something clicked. So I've been getting into my jazz in the last whatever, and doing the chord stuff, and
very proud of you, man.
Thank you, bud.
Really, really nice.
I'm flapping
He played one of the
along.
best. Okay, so every night, there's three of us. We're all taking solos. Mick had some just incredible moments. The stuff at the end of Rosanna, the tone of that Les Paul. Dan played a solo on "Drown in My Own Tears," which are blues, little extra changes, blues and D flat. Killed it. Everything about what you did is what we love to hear from a Carlton or a Robin Ford. All the voice leading, the tone was great. Really, one of the shining moments of the week. Take it. Take it, Dan
Thank
Steinhardt.
you. Thank you. That's fair.
No, but
Wow.
but I know it's coming from your pursuit of these things.
Yeah.
Being able to navigate harmony and being able to.
And that stuff is informing so much. So one thing that I finally clicked, and we're going through some changes. We're looking at that tune that's what's it called? The There'll Never Be Another You.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then Andy starts doing his thing and starts, all the chords are there and all the melodies there, and then he starts to swing. Right. I shouldn't say start to swing. I realized
I made a
he's
conscious
swinging.
decision. I think I'll swing.
He's swinging, and then the chord stopped, and he's playing lines.
Yeah.
And the swing in the lines, and then it hit me that all the stuff that we hear you play that just affects us so deeply, the melodies that you play, there's swing in them, and that the element that adds is, I just don't think it can be, because once that clicked, once I worked that out, it's like, oh, okay, that's amazing.
It's it. Well, there's definitely. I have played and I've studied and I've listened to a lot of from traditional. If you want to call Charlie Parker, starting at bebop,
Right.
From the age of 16, I really started absorbing a lot. My first guitar teacher, at the time of 16, I was playing professionally, and I was a really good, solid rock player. But I wanted to learn how to read, and he just happened to be a great jazz player. So in addition to my reading lessons, he'd loan me the Barney Kessel and the Joe Pass records and write out. He'd written a very, really concise. Here's all the voicings you're going to need for jazz guitar tunes, all on the key of G, but he teaches you how to take around the circle of fifths. Ron Pritchett, I love you, man, Evansville, Indiana. And so, but really just, because at that point in my life, I was like, how do these guys know what the heck to play? So it just really inspired me. It really, I wanted to know how to do this. But just through that, you need to listen. You need to really hear the way the music should feel. And so I think that was a large part of it, because I had a love affair with jazz that continues to this day. So I absorbed a lot of it, played a lot of it. But if even, after you said that, I was kind of considering some things. And if I was thinking about certain Beatles songs, listen to Tell Me Why. Yeah. Ringo and Paul McCartney swing their butts off.
Yeah, right.
Feel,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my love, you close your eyes. It's really great swing, and Ringo mentions even in some recent interviews that, through his stepdad Harry, he was turning him on to Louis Bellson and all these kind of big bandy swing things. So there's a lot of swing happening in Ringo's playing. It's a real natural. It's why those tunes feel so good. But Yeah, definitely the way that guys like Charlie Parker and Cannonball and the great Wes and some of the great jazz players, the way, not only the swing, but the way they have dynamics throughout their lines. There's really, from here to here, it's not this string of incredibly difficult, whatever 16th, 32nd, whatever, but there's really, listen to Charlie Parker float in and out of these lines.
Yeah.
But then later on in the electric guitar, of course, I got a lot from Larry Carlton and Pat Metheny and Lukather, who was definitely influenced by Carlton as well, but had his own thing, and he's a big influence, and Robin Ford. So it was the guys that had the dynamic flow in their lines, and maybe from the swing, getting a lot from that.
Yeah. And also another good friend of yours, Mike Stern.
Oh, huge influence.
And he can play those really fast swung 16th notes. It's like it's amazing.
Yeah, it's but swing can be a. Am I gonna find my swing tone on my rock? I'm playing quarter notes. Welcome to the tone, the pedal show jazz trio. So but I take that as a compliment, because it's even when it's not obvious in the rock thing, there is an underlying influence of all that swing, and it's just from listening and emulating some of my favorite players.
But it's all about understanding time, right? And because when you're playing your melodies, because you'll push and you'll pull, and because you understand how that conveys emotion.
Yeah,
and it's so effective. So I just wanted to touch briefly on that. Okay. And I know it's running long, but
don't worry about
we
that.
got
time is good.
Time is good.
Time is good. We like time.
I wanted to also touch base on your approach when you're doing music. You're playing the chords, you're playing the melodies. It's everything all in one.
Okay.
How, if you wanted to start doing that, where do you start?
Great question.
I was due.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I don't want to be flippant and say it's so easy, because you just find the melody and then support it with the simplest harmony you can. A lot of people are overwhelmed because the world is in our back pocket, and every transcription, every scale, I need to know all this stuff. Right. So the first thing I say is, look, Stevie Ray, let's break this down. What was how much knowledge was there? And he just did the simplest things better than anybody else. He took this very finite amount of, he's not thinking scales, but it's just some basic vocabulary things, but just the way he put it together with the real heart, the real conviction, the real soul. So you just got to start simply. What did work for me, when I got to Miami, I studied there from 83 to 85. It was very well known for its jazz guitar department. And I was, I could read, and I was playing a bit of jazz. I was decidedly the rock guy. But in the jazz guitar theory courses I took, we're learning all the modes, and they got to teach us some stuff. So what are we going to do? We're doing modes. Well, I never really tried to analyze everything as, it's this particular mode, but it did give me a way of, of navigating it and kind of knowing where all the positions were. That's invaluable. Learn the names of the notes on the fretboard. If you need to find an A, just know where the A's are, because by knowing that, so much is available to you. Kind of like you can find that home tone. Yeah. Everything just branches from there. It doesn't have to be that complicated. But what the modes did was it just kind of blended together where you had these sweet spots and took away the blind spots.
Right.
So don't get overwhelmed with having to know all these things, but those basic things are handy. But then again, and getting to Dan's original question is and learn as many songs as you can. That was the difference with the Beatles and all of their peers.
You have a scary amount, a concerning amount of Beatles knowledge, I think I might say.
Okay, so they're guilty as charged there.
But when we...
I think we should try and get Andy on Celebrity Mastermind.
Yeah, your specialist question, specialist stuff with the Beatles.
They would never allow that.
It's a narrow category, but
It's one of the most fascinating conversations I've ever been a part of was that evening with you, myself, and Dave Gregory. We went out for a curry, and between Andy and Dave, the knowledge of artists and I just sat there going, "This is just," it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But just talking to you about music
Yeah.
is inspiration enough for anything. You know, it's like I love talking to people who are passionate about anything because I find it energizing. And it's okay, you can get it.
So, yeah. Hi, sweetie. Sorry.
But you get a glimpse of actually how much music you have absorbed, and it's incredible.
Well, it's just we're fans, you know. It's just the love of all of it. Yeah, and I've definitely been hyper focused on certain things, and I will geek out to the nth degree when I find those things that I'm passionate about. But yeah, it's just trying to be open, and I was just fortunate early on that, especially with guitar, if there was guitar in it, I want to know how to do it. Right. You know, but yeah, when you get to all our favorite artists and the great bands, we can obsess over it. Anyway, but yeah, that's the basis of it. You know, just good tunes, hopefully along the way.
It's amazing.
We hope.
Well,
yeah.
I want to hear a couple more things on the board. So I'm seeing 2 green pedals there.
Yeah.
I heard plenty of the Octa Fuzz at the shows we did.
Yeah, you did.
Just phenomenal sound.
Yep.
Where do you employ that? What does that get used for then?
Oh, the Octa Fuzz?
Yeah.
Oh, that's, so in the set that of the shows we were doing, there's a song called Winterland that's on the Theme from a Perfect World record.
Yeah.
And it's a solo. It's one of my favorite solos. Just the melody of it I like so much. So it's something I will play verbatim every night. But then I might pull it out in the jam later when we're doing our thing and get a little bit Hendrixy. But yeah, it's a really nice. This is a company out of Sao Paulo, Brazil called GNI. And I do endorse their stuff, and this is my particular favorite pedal. It's that Jimi Hendrix Octavia sound, but this is my favorite one out of all the stuff I've tried over the years. This really does a good job. So I use it in front of the JHS AT. So if I do this, it might get loud. More Halo. Almost got that pitch. Yeah, okay.
That's full on.
Flippin'.
It's full on, isn't it?
Amazing.
That's a good version of that tone, right?
And you've got one at the other end as well. I kept hearing that must be the Pog, is it?
Oh, I've got okay. So yeah, I'll put that on occasionally. The Pog is great. I've got it just set up for the low octave. There's a great solo Mike Stern does. I think it's Jean Pierre on. I'm probably shouting now. Jean Pierre on the We Want Miles record, and he just does this. It's the most evil sounding thing, and I think back then he had the Distortion Plus and the Boss OC2. Is that the octave?
Yeah,
the Brown.
Yeah.
The Brown. Just killing. And he had some good echo back then. I'm not sure what he was using. Might have been an early Boss delay or something. Anyway, so that's the fun stuff. Well, I've got the jam pedal univibey thing. Anything else? Oh, we didn't go to the lead channel. Do we want to do that real quick?
Yeah.
So then occasionally,
I was just gonna say what Andy played was the beginning of a song called "Take Me With You," which is off his latest record, which you absolutely have to hear.
Yeah, massive kudos, a shout out to Josh Smith.
Yes.
Whatever chemistry was going on, more please. So,
Yeah,
unreal.
well, that was the thing. So if those that don't know, the record's called Electric Truth. It came out in April. And I just met Josh. I'd been seeing him play, on YouTube like so many of other people. So I just kept seeing these videos. God, this guy sounds great. His band always sounded great. And so we spoke on the phone, and he just mentioned to me that, hey, I just finished my home studio. I mean, come out and record. Okay, so I'll go. What are the hours? No, so yeah, exactly. So he had gone out. We just kind of figured, well, it would have been January 2020. But as we spoke, it's like, yeah, man, Josh, you produce, you pick the players. I'll write some stuff. We wrote some stuff together, and I just put it in his hands, which was kind of a fun thing for me because it's either me at the helm or my bass player Mike Danu, who engineers and produces with me, or Rob Wexler over the years. But it was really great to do a record with another guitar player.
Yeah, right.
Who could just kick your butt at any moment. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a wonderful, in this, we talk about too, just in playing in front of each other. You have this level you want to rise to because you want to always play well, but you want to you want to impress your buddies, right? You want to do well. So it's always good to have that level of ears around.
Yeah.
But Josh was wonderful to work with. He just really has great instincts. And again, there might be some things that, I hadn't thought of that. Try that,
Yeah.
try this thing. He did hand me his Strat with 13s on it once. Here, we need a Strat on this. Try this. And I couldn't even get treble out of the string.
We experienced the same thing.
It's pretty great. So he's got this really wonderfully heavy strings and the tone to prove it. He plays the best solo on the record. He plays on one song called Johnny T. And just, boy, it just sounds great. Anyway, thank you, Josh. And the great Alan Hertz, who's the engineer that tracked the sessions and then mixed it. Alan Hertz is great. The band is Lamar Carter on drums, Travis Carlton on bass, and Darren Johnson on B3 and Whirly and assorted mellotronish type things. Really great crew to work with. Yeah, so I would love to revisit that lineup again and have some fun. We'll see.
It's just some amazing noises. You really have to hear it. It's called Electric Truth. You can find it in all the normal places.
Yes.
Please go there. Not least andytimmons.com.
There you go.
Where you can get a hard copy if you still spin discs. And we hope you do.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So let's just hear some lead channel stuff then,
Okay.
because everyone's shouting at the screen at the moment.
So again, most of the night's going to be the JHS AT pedal on the clean channel of the Lone Star, but occasionally, like I was mentioning, that might not be my preferred neck pickup tone. So what I've gravitated towards doing is employing the Lone Star thick lead channel. It's not a lot of gain, but then I'll hit it in the front with either a tube screamer circuit.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a little mini on there, or the BB. So this will be lead channel. Let's just listen to the lead channel on its own. But I'm looking for a high gain lead, so then I'm going to hit the front end of that with the tube screamer. And then I can hit that with the B, a little bit more gain with the BB pedal. You like the noises,
Man.
You like the noises.
It's so powerful.
Wow. Thank you, man. So
I wish I could explain it. And anyone that came to any of the shows, or you've seen Andy before in a live context, you will understand. It's massively thick and fat, but it's also just supremely defined.
Yeah.
You can hear it's like a massive guitar tone, and I hope not wishing to make you blush too much, but you just know it's you from 2 notes.
That's pretty sweet. Well, you both, I'm telling you, back at you guys, because hearing your guys' tones, it was just like some of the most sonic integrity I've ever stood on stage and heard. Just, I mean, incredible.
I was that loud.
Well, he was. I mean, but it was, and both tones were freaking glorious. Just such inspiring stuff to hear. And Dad's like, yeah, we do this all day, you know. Fair enough. Yeah, you've been through some items.
Well, you know, it was, I
You've
guess
been through some stuff.
Well, we wanted to. It's been these gigs have been the first gigs I've done in 3 years, right? Since pre-COVID. But we'd done some TPS gigs before. We were so keen to get back out there and do it, and the opportunity to do it with you. I mean, there's some, you know, anyone that's part of the Facebook group will have seen pictures and whatnot, but you know that we got to play with you on stage, and I got to do, you know, when words fail, aka when Dan fails.
You did great.
But
no sevenths.
When they,
That's hilarious.
but it was, it honestly a real highlight, and you know we'll never forget it. It was amazing. We can't thank you enough for coming over. Oh. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Finally
and
got to do it. Are you kidding me? This is
unreal.
Dream. Can you come home with me? You can fit in my front pocket. Take you home back to Texas. Let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love to.
We love you.
Love you.
The world is a better place for having you in it.
And likewise,
we're so grateful for everything that you bring to.
Thank you, man.
To, you know, for everything you do, and we cannot thank you enough. I think. I mean, it's been a long week, and I'm a bit tired, but it's been just points today that's just been so full on moving.
Yeah,
for me too. And thank you guys.
It's why we do it, right? It's why we do it, and you know, whoever your guitar playing friends are, and to get out to shows and to feel it, and to feel the guitar hit you in the chest, and just share that. It's reaffirmed a lot of things, hasn't it? This week, it's been really an amazing hang, and we are unbelievably grateful. I told the story on stage when Dan first said, I think we might be able to get Andy over to do some shows. I genuinely thought he'd lost his mind, because it seemed so, you know. And likewise when we did it with Joey, same thing. It's like this is something we'd never really dreamed could ever happen, but it happened. And we are grateful. Well done. And
thanks to Catherine, who did so much to help.
Oh Catherine and
Hayden.
And
Catherine and Hayden. And everybody helping out. So.
And if you turned up to the gigs, we're so grateful that you came out. And let's do it again.
Yeah, I hope so.
Let's do it again.
Tomorrow after lunch.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thank you so much for watching. You know, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Thank you to our preferred retailers. Thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. And thank you to anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed some merch. It's the main way we fund the show.
I did.
It's all decked out in tone. It's wonderful. Please go and visit andytimmons.com and check out the new album and all the back catalogue. Just go and buy it because it's all amazing stuff.
And he also has a lot of really good tuition stuff here, there, and everywhere.
So it's wonderful. That's Guitar Experience.
Yeah, no, guitarexperience.net. TrueFire, of course, I've done many courses there. And
we'll put some links in the description
links.
Check some of that stuff out.
We'll see you on Monday for viewers' comments and questions. But yeah, thank you so much. Unreal. Wow.
But who has custody over?
Me.
Sure. All right, hey, I'm at dance tonight. Woo! Very nice B&Bs, both of these fellas. Nice.
Cool. We might see if we can persuade Andy to play some more.
Or actually, you know this one. Not taking care of business. It's very sad.
That sounded
very sad.
To be fair, that sounded like the Metallica version of it. Okay, just before we finally say goodbye, what's that?
What happened? This is a thing that I've just recently gotten into using when I sit and practice in my office. I'm on a little bit lower chair, but as we usually do at some point is we kind of, you know, angle our foot up to get the guitar to the right height.
Yep.
So if I'm sitting on a lower chair flat, this just helps lift it up just enough. You know, you can get it dialed. It's called the Performax.
Huh?
Nice guy in Italy. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering the name right now.
I'll put a link below.
Performax, yeah. So it just kind of helps get the guitar up. Mimi Fox is a good friend of mine and great jazz guitar player. If you don't know her, she uses this little kind of just like a pad. It's like almost a little cushion. She'll set her guitar on to get it at the right level. And I had that for a while, but it's a bit, you know, it's wonky and floats around. This thing attaches to your guitar and just lifts it up to the right thing. So I noticed that I could practice longer sessions without getting all this tension in my leg that I didn't even realize was gathering there because we're so used to doing it. So anyway, it's something that Performax. It helps me a lot.
Awesome.
Good. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Andy Timmons.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you. Yeah.